In Mexico City, where millions of lives cross each day, whispers of fear began to echo through neighborhoods in the early 2000s. Elderly women, the abuelas who carried the weight of generations, were being found dead in their own homes. At first, authorities dismissed the deaths as robberies gone wrong, or natural causes mixed with tragic coincidence. But soon, a chilling realization took hold. Someone was hunting the city's grandmothers. That someone would later become infamous as La Mataviejitas, the little old lady killer. This is her story, and the story of a city gripped by fear, confusion, and disbelief. The first cases that drew suspicion surfaced around 1998. In modest apartments and quiet houses, elderly women were discovered lifeless, strangled, suffocated, or beaten. At first, the murders went unnoticed as a connected pattern. In a city as vast as Mexico City, crime was unfortunately common, and elderly deaths often passed with little scrutiny. Families mourned, authorities filed reports, and life moved on. But behind the ordinary paperwork lay a sinister truth: a predator was moving quietly among the city's most vulnerable. By the early 2000s, the killings became more frequent, and the methods more brutal. Victims were often found with signs of strangulation marks on their necks, or cords and scarves used as weapons. Many were discovered lying on the floor of their small living rooms or bedrooms, sometimes with valuables missing. Police theorized at first that a gang was targeting elderly women for easy money, but eyewitnesses began describing something unexpected. The suspect wasn't a man. Witnesses reported seeing a tall, strong woman, sometimes dressed in nurse's clothing, leaving the scenes. The idea of a female serial killer was almost unthinkable in Mexico at the time. Serial murder itself was often viewed as a phenomenon belonging to the United States or Europe, not Mexico. And a female killer? That didn't fit any known profile. Investigators hesitated, uncertain whether to believe the witnesses. This hesitation would cost lives. The killer, later identified as Juana Barraza, blended into her environment with unsettling ease. Born in 1957 in rural Mexico, Barraza's life was marked by hardship and trauma from the beginning. She grew up in poverty, the daughter of an abusive alcoholic mother. Her childhood, by her own accounts, was filled with neglect and betrayal. The most haunting story from her early years reveals the seeds of rage that would one day erupt. Her mother allegedly traded her to a man for just a few beers. Juana, still a child, was left to endure repeated sexual abuse at his hands. That trauma carved deep scars into her psyche, planting bitterness toward the very figure of trust and protection, an older woman, her own mother. As she grew older, Barraza sought refuge and strength. She developed a fascination with lucha libre, the flamboyant world of Mexican wrestling. Taking on the ring name La Dama del Silencio, the Lady of Silence, she crafted a persona of power, aggression, and dominance. In the arena, she found an outlet for her anger and a fleeting taste of respect. Fans cheered, lights flashed, and for a brief time, she wasn't the abused child from the countryside, she was a warrior. But the wrestling career never brought the wealth or stability she longed for. Outside the ring, life was unforgiving. She worked odd jobs, struggled financially, and raised children on her own. By the late 1990s, something inside Juana Barraza broke. The resentment toward her mother, and by extension toward elderly women, fused with her daily frustrations. She began targeting abuelas, those who reminded her of the betrayal she had suffered. For her, each attack was not only about theft, it was about vengeance. Between 2002 and 2006, the killings accelerated, spreading fear through Mexico City like a shadow. Newspapers sensationalized the murders, dubbing the unknown killer La Mataviejitas. Panic gripped entire neighborhoods. Elderly women became afraid to answer the door, even to familiar faces. Families begged police for answers, while rumors swirled. Authorities faced immense pressure but remained divided and confused. The notion of a female serial killer still seemed implausible. Some officials insisted the murders had to be the work of a man disguised as a woman. Police even went as far as rounding up trans women and cross-dressers in a desperate, misguided effort to find the culprit. This not only delayed justice but also fueled discrimination against vulnerable communities. Meanwhile, Barraza continued her spree, emboldened by the chaos she created. What made her particularly dangerous was her ability to exploit trust. Many victims were approached under the guise of help. On the 25th of January 2006, Juana Barraza was caught fleeing after killing Ana Maria de los Reyes Alfaro. Police found stethoscopes and fake IDs in her bag, exposing her ruse. Forensic evidence and confessions confirmed Mexico's first known female serial killer, shocking the nation. The trial that followed captivated the public. Prosecutors laid out the gruesome details: strangulations, thefts, the manipulation of vulnerable victims. They painted Barraza as a cold-blooded predator who betrayed the kindness of grandmothers for her own twisted satisfaction. Barraza herself admitted to some murders but denied others, claiming she wasn't responsible for the full count. Psychologists who evaluated her pointed to deep-rooted trauma and anger toward her mother as the psychological fuel for her crimes. Still, the court showed little mercy. In 2008, Juana Barraza was sentenced to 759 years in prison, later reduced under Mexican law to a maximum of 60 years. For many, justice had been served, though the wounds in the community would linger for years. Looking back, the case of La Mataviejitas reveals more than just the story of a serial killer. It exposed the vulnerabilities of an aging population, often left isolated and unprotected. It highlighted the biases within law enforcement, whose refusal to consider a female suspect allowed Barraza to operate far longer than she might have otherwise. And it forced Mexico to confront a terrifying truth: evil doesn't fit neatly into expected profiles. Today, Juana Barraza remains in prison, one of the most infamous figures in Mexico's criminal history. She is a reminder that trauma, left unhealed, can fester into something monstrous. And she is proof that sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones we least expect. The legacy of La Mataviejitas continues to haunt Mexico City. In the narrow streets and quiet apartments where abuelas once lived in fear, the memories of those lost linger like shadows. For the families of the victims, closure is impossible. Their mothers, grandmothers, and sisters were taken in moments of trust, in the very spaces where they should have felt safest. In the end, the story of La Mataviejitas is not only about one woman's descent into murder. It is about a society forced to reckon with its blind spots, its failures, and the fragility of the people it too often overlooks. Elderly women, who had survived lifetimes of hardship, deserved dignity in their final years. Instead, they became prey to someone who wore the mask of a helper but carried the soul of a killer. And so, when we remember the tale of Juana Barraza, we remember not just the name of Mexico's female serial killer. We remember the silence she broke, the fear she spread, and the countless lives that will forever remind us. Her story stands as a chilling reminder of how trust can be twisted into a weapon. Juana Barraza's crimes revealed deep flaws in law enforcement, fueled public fear, and shattered the illusion of safety for Mexico's most vulnerable. Her legacy is not just one of brutality, but of a city forced to confront the unthinkable, that evil can hide in plain sight.